message was to spread Lord Chaitanya's teachings. There's a famous lecturer who was in the mid-1970s. Srila Prabhupada was in Atlanta, Georgia. He just traveled a lot. He traveled to Australia, he traveled through South America, he traveled through America. Just had come from India. Shamsundar Prabhu was his secretary. And he's now writing a book. He just completed it a few days ago at the Govardhan Eco Village. It's an astounding book. He joined the Hare Krishna movement in 1966. Beginning of 1967, he met Srila Prabhupada in January. He was his personal secretary, went to Moscow with him, went to every continent practically for 5 years. And it's called Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. Srila Prabhupada was in Atlanta, Georgia. There were beautiful, large, 8-metal deities of Gornitai in the center of the altar. They're still there today. Srila Prabhupada, for Srimad Bhagavatam class, he would generally chant Jai Radha Madhava. But seeing all of these, what he would call American boys and girls, he actually said in this lecture of Gorakhpur, they were all teenagers or in their early 20s. He said there was a boy named Howard who later became Hayagriva. He said he was 26. These were the oldest people in the movement. These were the really senior kind of grandparent devotees. So the oldest was 29. And he looked out, and there was Gornitai. There was all these devotees who were devoting their lives, surrendering everything, their body, mind, words, life, to serve Lord Chaitanya's mission. Srila Prabhupada, instead of chanting Jai Radha Madhava, he chanted Parama Karuna, Ahum Dvijana, Nitai Gaura Chandra. Parama Karuna, Ahum Dvijana, means that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are supremely compassionate, supremely merciful and kind. These two brothers, they are the essence of all avatars. Kevala Anandakanda. They're giving the highest access into the spiritual world. Prema Bhakti, Raj Bhakti. And the process in which they're giving is simply joyful. Chanting, dancing, feasting. One time Srila Prabhupada was talking like this. He said, what Lord Chaitanya has given the world is simply joyful. Chanting, dancing, and feasting. And one devotee was obviously really struggling. He said, but Srila Prabhupada, there's so many things. We have to follow these 4 regular principles. We have to get up in the morning and Prabhupada said, no, only chanting, dancing, and feasting. What does that mean? We have to do all those other things if we want to really make spiritual progress. But to attain prema bhakti by any other means is so difficult compared to what it is, to what Lord Chaitanya is giving us. Namo Mahabharaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Vijay. Srila Prabhupada seeing the great value, the infinite, limitless value of what Lord Chaitanya is giving. Where practically no other avatar is given so easily. It's chanting, dancing. So on this particular day that I'm talking about, he's saying he was looking at the deities, he was looking at the devotees, and as he started chanting Paramakara, he could only sing a few words. And then he entered into such a state, his voice totally choked up. Devotees never saw, because Srila Prabhupada was very careful not to exhibit his ecstasies. The acharyas explain the ecstasies of love. It's like a lover displays the love to their beloved, but not to anyone else. That's chastity. So similarly, a devotee displays their ecstasies only for Krishna, not to people, because people take it cheaply. But on that day it was uncontrollable. Seeing the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda before his very eyes, in the form of these people who were giving their lives and their hearts, began to cry. He closed his eyes with tears streaming and was completely silent, like in samadhi, for several minutes. And all the devotees who came from all different parts of America were sitting in silence. Srila Prabhupada then, after some time, he opened his eyes and he looked around, and he couldn't speak. He was just too overwhelmed in the ecstasy of Gaura-Nitai's compassion. And he said, "Have kirtan." And it was kirtan. That was the Srimad Bhagavatam class. 500 years ago, approximately from this evening. Do you know where Lord Chaitanya was? Does anyone know? Please raise your hands. Well, in the month of, at the end of Kartik Purnima, the last day of Kartik, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Vrindavan 500 years ago. In his wonderful celebration in Vrindavan. He stayed for 2 months. He wanted to stay forever. But his assistant, Balabhadra Bhattacharya, wanted to go because it was so, Lord Chaitanya was in so many ecstasies. He would just go in the Yamuna and just go underwater and they'd have to find him and take him out. And so many people wanted to invite Lord Chaitanya for lunch, for prasad at their house, all these Brahmins and Brajavasis. And there was only, there's so many people every day inviting. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya could only take Lord Chaitanya to one place. It was adding up. People were becoming impatient. He was in distress. So he said, he told Lord Chaitanya, we should go. So Lord Chaitanya said, let's go. To please his servants, he was willing to sacrifice even what was giving him the most ecstasy. In Vrindavan, he was home. We read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita how when he was living in Puri, just thinking of Vrindavan, the ecstasies of his love would increase many times. And when he was on his way to Vrindavan, going through the Jarikhanda forest, his ecstasies were increasing hundreds of times. When he arrived in Mathura, his ecstasies increased 1,000 times. When he was traveling through the 12 forests of Panchpuri, his ecstasies increased limitlessly. He was home. The cows saw him, and they were just they welcomed him with such sweet sounds. And they glanced at him with such love. They made a circle around him and they were licking him and moving in ecstasy. And he was petting them and smiling and glancing upon them. They didn't want to leave him. And as he was walking, the deers gathered in circles around him and were licking him, and he was petting them. The peacocks were dancing for him, and the parrots were singing for him. And every tree was blossoming flowers in honor of his returning home. In the month of Magh, which is January, February, he went to Prayag, where the Magh Mela was happening. And that is where he met Srimad Vallabhavata, or Vallabhacharya. Vallabhacharya said, please come to my home in Ailagram, across the Yamuna River. So Lord Chaitanya got in a boat and saw the Yamuna, and he became so completely transcendentally ecstatic, remembering Krishna and the Yamuna, and the mood of Sri Radha. He jumped in the Yamuna. And it was deep, so they had to pull him up and bring him back in the boat. And then he started dancing on the boat. Lord Chaitanya was quite large in size. It was just a little rowboat. He was dancing and chanting the holy names of Krishna. And the whole boat was going from, when his foot would go on one side, the boat would go, and then when his foot would go on the other, and more water was going into the boat, and the boat was sinking lower and lower, in a very deep river. And he didn't know what to do. They were trying to stop him from dancing, but he didn't stop dancing. They tried to calm him down, and somehow or other, they made it to the other side. And beautiful loving exchange between Vallabhavata and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very special. He composed that beautiful verse. The only one who is empowered by Krishna can spread this Krishna consciousness and the holy name all over the world. He was praising Lord Chaitanya. As Krishna himself gave Lord Chaitanya prasad. And on the way back, he decided to go across the Ganga instead. It was there at Prayag that Rupa Goswami and his younger brother Arupa met Lord Chaitanya for the second time. First to Ramkeli. And it was in Prayag that Rupa Goswami composed that beautiful prayer, Namo Mahabharata. And for 10 days at the Dashashvamedha Ghat, near the confluence of the Yamuna, Ganga, Saraswati, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami 500 years ago. And he instructed Rupa Goswami to go to Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his way back to Puri, he stopped in Varanasi, Kashi. He stopped there also on the way to Puri, to Vrindavan. There in Varanasi, there were just two devotees, Chandrasekhar and